Kaeyi and welcome to Hardware Heaven. Today we are going to be taking a look at the brand new Razer Naga 2014. Now for those of you beloved Razer or just Naga fans out there, you might be quite shocked because the changes are quite drastic. They've improved on some of the problems from the previous two Nagas and changed quite a few things that could be for the better or for the worse. Let's take a look and then we can decide. So let's start off by taking a quick look around the box. As you can see, it's typical Razer Naga design. We've got the mouse on the front, we've got Razer Naga, it's the MMO Expert Gaming Mouse. We've then got some information and the typical black and green design. On the side here, we've got some information regarding Synapse, the drivers basically, the controller support, and then we've got details here that these buttons on the Naga are now actually mechanical, but we'll go into that a little bit later. And then we've got information regarding the tilt click, the backlighting, the 12 buttons on the side, and then the braided cable. So let's open this up and take a look what you get inside. Now inside the box you get the Razer three-headed snake stickers as always, which I absolutely love. You can just stick them everywhere because they're quite plasticky, they're really awesome. You've got the quick start guide here which gives you all the information in various language of how you can set up Synapse and get all the drivers and everything like that. You've then got your basically welcome letter to Cult of Razer. And then we've got a nice picture here of the Razer Naga itself and some more information regarding the Cult of Razer. So let's get into what you're all here for. Let's look at the mouse. Now, not only am I going to be taking a look at the new Razer Naga, I've also got my previous Naga, the Naga 2012, and then my previous Naga, the original one. So we're going to compare all of these mice, see how really everything has changed, the history of the Naga, and then what we're going to do is compare the new one to the Logitech G600 and really see how it compares to that. So let's get started by taking a look at the brand new Naga 2014, and then we'll go into the history of the Naga and see what's changed since the very beginning. Now I've just got this Razer Goliathus mouse pad here simply because my table is black and the Naga is black, so it's just simply so that you are able to see the mouse more clearly. Now if we look at the Naga itself, we've got the scroll wheel as always, which does light up on either side. Now this scroll wheel does have the ridges that it did have before, except this time it now tilts left to right. Now as much as that is useful and great, the G600 did do that a long time ago. I mean the G700 has been released now, so you can see the time scale there. It is a great feature. You can bind it to things like Alt or Shift, so that if you bound all of the keys on the left hand side here to 1 to 12, you then could bind them also to Shift 1 to 12 by simply tilting that to the left or right. Now it's pretty easy to do so. It takes some quite force to actually press the middle button down, so you're going to easily be able to click that left to right with no issue. The left and right clicks are even more responsive than ever. I really like those. Let's talk a little bit about the finish. Now, the finish looks the same as the other mice, the predecessors to the Naga. The only difference really, just by looking at it, is that the sides are not glossy anymore, they're matte. Now the top of the previous Razer Nagas were matte, so it's nothing new there. The only difference with this one is it kind of feels like you're rubbing a brick. The other ones are really smooth, but you can feel every single grain in the mouse. Now if you're someone like me that gets freaked out by having any sort of powder, sand, dust, flour on their hands and constantly has the fear that their fingers are too dry, this is going to really frustrate you. However, I'm pretty sure that this is done for some reason, like it's anti-sweat protection or there's more grip, but it actually is just really frustrating to hold. I mean, it's just that niggly feeling, like putting a thread through the eye of the needle. It just kind of makes you cringe a little bit. But once your hand is on there and you're not moving your fingers around and you're just pressing up and down and you've got that grip, it's fine. It's just the initial placing of your hand. If you just rubbed your finger along it, it could be quite annoying. But as I played with it for a good 5 hours solidly, playing League of Legends and various MMOs and things like that, I got used to it and didn't really think about it after a while. The size of the mouse is massive. Now this is why I'm going to compare it to the previous Naga, the Naga 2012. So this is the Naga 2012 and this is the Naga 2014. Now I've lined them up both along the bottom, and as you can see, the top part of the mouse is a lot wider. Now before we had quite a curved shape, whereas now it's gone with a lot more rounded square shape. Unfortunately, like the Naga 2012, where we could take off the side panels and adjust how big we wanted the mouse, this is actually the smallest one. On the Naga 2014, you can't. I'm assuming this is because they're going to release some sort of ultimate or wireless edition that will probably be able to remove the side panels, but as this goes, you can't. So if you're one of those people like me who have really, really small hands and you were hoping to have one that you could exchange the side panels and have it a smaller shape so it's, you know, there's more grip for you, because despite them adding a grip on the side and it being matte so that it's easier to hold, it is actually harder to hold if you have smaller hands because it's so big and it feels like it could easily fall out. Whereas this, I have complete control over. Now that's probably one of the two flaws that I have. The fact that it feels weird. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but they look kind of similar from the top. The right hand one, the 2012, has a slightly more shine to it, whereas this is more matte. I love the finish of the 2012. It didn't bother me that the sides were shiny either. Yes, you got thumbprints over it and it was a little bit more difficult to hold, but still, I like the size and I like the finish. It felt nice. This one does feel weird, but you do get used to it after a while. So let's put the 2012 away and take a look at the buttons on the left hand side. Now these are now mechanical buttons. These feel great when you press them. They're quite bouncy, and I know mechanical has never been really described as bouncy before, but before the buttons were quite flat, you had to push quite hard to push them in, and locating them was very hard. Now the buttons have been changed so that they have ridges, much like the Logitech G600. Now if I hold them like this, we can see that the positioning of the buttons is pretty much identical on that of the G600 and the Razer Naga 2014. The main difference is the 2014 still remains to have square buttons, and the Logitech G600 buttons are still quite difficult to push in because they're quite rubbery, whereas the mechanical buttons on the Naga 2014 are very bouncy and they're very nice to push in. As with previously, we've got the braided cable, we've got the buttons still located on the top that you can bind as your third and fourth mouse keys. The scroll wheel is as good as ever. The bottom of the mouse has changed a little. Before, we had mouse feet located in 5 areas, however, these still came off when you were offered replacements. This has gone with a much more Corsair-like bottom to the mouse, and I actually really prefer these. It offers great speed as well as control. And this is one thing that you can adjust massively in the drivers, but we're going to go to that in the second half of the video. Just to mention it a little bit now, you can actually calibrate the mouse depending on what mouse mat you're using. It's already got predefined settings for all of the Razer mouse mats as well, so you can just select which one you're using and it will calibrate that as necessary. They're great features, but again, we'll go into that in a little bit. So looking at the Razer history, we've got the original Naga, the Naga 2012, and the Naga 2014. The shape between the original and the 2012 wasn't much different. The main difference was that you could take off this side panel, whereas you couldn't before. The feet was drastically different. The Naga has massively evolved in the mouse feet. Before, we just had one strip that went all around, which as you can see always came off and had to be replaced. And then we had these 5, and now we've simply got the 3. The buttons were relocated from the left hand side to the middle, which they've kept with because it was successful. The mouse wheel stayed the same from the 2012 and the original, and has now changed to be more ridged and rubbery and have more resistance, which I absolutely love. The cables have always been braided, and the buttons remained the same from the original and the 2012, so it's something that massively need updated. I really disliked the G600 buttons when I first reviewed it. I didn't like the fact it was rubbery, and I didn't like the shape of the buttons, and the ridges on them found it to be quite frustrating when trying to play a game. The Naga's done it well. I really like the fact that they still kept the harder buttons. They've made them mechanical, so they're a lot easier to press, and the ridges work really well because they're still a square shape. The one thing I would change though is the finish. I really don't like that. I really hope they bring out a glossy version, or one that has the same finish as the previous Nagas. If you've got an original Naga, I would definitely upgrade to 2014, simply because the buttons on the left hand side are practically useless, and the feet on the bottom and generally just the DPI in general isn't that great. If you've already got a Naga 2012 and you're happy with it, I probably would say that getting a Naga 2014 is pretty pointless at this stage, because the finish of it's probably going to frustrate you, and the sheer size of it and not being able to customise it might also be quite annoying. So if you're happy with your 2012, it's probably not worth the money to upgrade. But if you haven't got a Naga at all, I would definitely recommend getting the 2014. It's a great mouse. It's really been changed. All of the things that were wrong with the 2012 version have been upgraded. The mechanical buttons give you that much extra speed and make your reaction times just that much better. The finishes on them are great, and the ridges actually make it easier to locate which button you're trying to press. Whereas before I'd constantly be looking at the left side of my mouse trying to work out which button I was trying to press, especially for the lower two rows, whereas now they're a lot more easier to locate. So let's just recap quickly before we go into the drivers. I definitely want Razer to have adjustable side panels and a glossy finish for the mouse as well. Apart from that, it's great. I really love the fact that you customise everything on this mouse. Synapse 2.0 has been improved drastically, and it's now a really good bit of software. So now let's take a look into the drivers and really how well you can customise it to your needs. Okay, so we're in Razer Synapse 2.0, and we're going to start by taking a look at the customizable buttons we have here. Now, to begin with, you'll get a head-on view where you can customize your right click, your left click, the middle click. So, for example, the scroll click. Then we've got the fourth and fifth mouse buttons. We've got scroll up, scroll down, and then we've got the left and right clicks, as you can see here, which you can change to Alt or anything like that. Currently mine is set to Alt and numlock, so if I take it to the left, it will change that to Alt. And then if we look at the side view, you've then got your 1 to 12 buttons here. Obviously 11 and 12 is normally these two keys here rather than being numbers 11 and 12, because we don't have that on our keyboard. Most games as well don't have 11 and 12 in there. That would normally just be an additional button that you combined. If we then look at performance, you can see here that we can change the sensitivity as well as the acceleration and the polling rate. We've then got the lighting here. Now, unfortunately, it is always green. I know the first Naga you could change the colour of it, and I think it was blue. And I know the keyboards as well, you can change the colours, but unfortunately, on the Naga 2012 and 2014 editions, they have kept it so it is only green. You can then turn the lighting on and off for the scroll wheel, the thumb grid and the logo, but my preference is having them all on. Now this is the best part of the drivers, the calibration. So let's turn this on. And if I had a Razer map, for example, I have the Goliathus, the League of Legends map, we can select the Goliathus speed, and it will automatically calibrate that. And depending on what Razer mouse mat you have, you can change that. Unfortunately, my actual main mouse mat is the Razer Specs Surface. Now, they don't have that on there, so that's something that also they could put on here, because I absolutely love the Surface. It's just basically a piece of material that you actually just stick to your mouse mat. It's quite plasticky, but I absolutely love it because I don't actually like traditional mouse mats. So what we can do is, because I don't have that, we can select others. We can add a mat. Now what we can do now is calibrate this, and to calibrate you have to click the mouse and then do diagonal Z shapes. Keep doing that. There we go, that calibration has been completed. We can save that, that's our specs, and then you can change the lift off range as well. So now, depending on what we set for the sensitivity, we can have this moving. This is a bit quick, 6,100 DPI. But it does go up to 8,200. I prefer to have it quite low. There we go. Have it like that, that's not too bad. And then we can change that on the fly if we want to as well. So this is Razer Synapse 2.0. Now I'm going to go into my conclusion of the Razer Naga 2014. In conclusion, I really do like the Razer Naga 2014. On first impressions, I was quite frustrated. I thought I would never get used to the fact the finish isn't that great, and the sheer size of it in comparison to my 2012 adjusted Naga. Now, after playing with it for like a solid day, just playing League of Legends and various MMOs, I have actually fallen in love with it. The sensitivity and the scalable DPI is absolutely amazing. I love the fact that you can easily locate the buttons, especially when you're in those tight situations and you need to press 5 instantly, you know where it is. The mechanical buttons are a great upgrade and feature, and I think it really helps with those people who are wanting a professional MMO gaming mouse. I'm going to award the Razer Naga 2014 a gold. By far, is it perfect? If it was perfect, I would have given it the Diamond Award. There are some things they can improve on, but knowing Razer, will get a revised edition in a couple of months anyway. Probably a wireless one, probably one with adjustable sides. So if you are waiting, maybe wait for that. But if you really want one of these, I definitely am not going to stop you because it is a great mouse. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye! Bye!